For the Constitution to be legal, 9 of the 13 states had to ratify or approve the document in their state legislatures. This took some doing. Some states ratified immediately, such as Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Georgia. But many state legislatures recognized that they were losing a lot of power with this new Constitution. And also, it was unclear exactly certain rights. For example, did the states have the right to a militia? Could the federal government pass laws about religion or speech? Many people were concerned about this new Constitution. In order to help the Constitution get passed, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay wrote the Federalist Papers. These were a series of 85 essays that appeared in newspapers across the nation. Over the course of several months, the authors anonymously argued for ratification of the Constitution. In general, they argued that the U.S. was already too big for a pure democracy. A republic was what was needed. Further, democracies permitted factions and alliances that would end up moving eventually against the common good. A republic was better because it could represent more people and get more done. Overall, the Federalist Papers helped ratify the Constitution, but it was clear that many states demanded a Bill of Rights. This was familiar from the British Constitution, and you'll remember the Bill of Rights had come up during the American Revolution. They wanted to make sure the government did not have too much power. The ratification finally succeeded when Congress agreed to create a Bill of Rights, and so the Constitution was ratified June 21st, 1788. The new government took over from the Articles of Confederation on the 4th of March, 1789. Washington was unanimously chosen to be president, and he served 2 terms. He helped build the executive branch. That Congress that began in March 4th, 1789, immediately created the Bill of Rights, which we consider the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. These include rights that the government cannot take away from an individual, the right to free speech, the right to practice religion, the right to bear arms. These further stipulated rules that were relevant due to the American Revolution. For example, soldiers would not be housed in personal homes, no unreasonable searches of personal property in homes, and a trial by jury of your peers. All of those were directly a result of the concerns that Americans had during the American Revolution. My main point in this lesson was to study how the Americans finally ratified this new Constitution and how a new political organization, which would inspire other countries around the globe, came to be. Many countries today have political systems similar to the United States. I want to conclude with one last story. George Washington stepped down as Commander-in-Chief of the Army after winning the war. He didn't have to. Many of his people, many of his soldiers were following him completely willingly, and if he had decided to make himself a leader of some kind, they would have supported him. But he stepped down and went back to private life. Whenever he was summoned to Congress again 5 years later, he agreed to serve 2 years as president, and then he stepped down again. When George III, the King of Britain, had heard of Washington stepping down, he proclaimed Washington the greatest man in the world.